I will show you with my body, my lips, and my eyes very soon. That single message didn't just change a relationship, it altered the destiny of the richest man alive. No one could have predicted that hidden inside this romantic text was betrayal so deep it would trigger a $38 billion fallout and shatter 3 lives forever. This is the story of how one private message turned a fairy tale into the most expensive divorce in history, of how a brother betrayed his own sister for tabloid money, and of how even the world's most powerful man was left powerless against the simplest form of human disloyalty. But before we dive into the scandal, make sure you subscribe to the channel and drop a like. It really helps us keep uncovering these untold stories. Let's rewind to 1993. A young Wall Street analyst named Jeff Bezos meets McKenzie Scott at the hedge fund D.E. Shaw. Their first encounter could have been scripted straight out of a Hollywood rom-com. Jeff was captivated by her sharp mind and natural beauty. McKenzie saw in him not just a quirky dreamer, but a man with unstoppable ambition. I really didn't date much until my senior year in college, Jeff later admitted. But when he met McKenzie, everything changed. Just 3 months later, they were engaged. Within a year, married, but their story wasn't just about love, it was about building the future. In 1994, Jeff stumbled upon a staggering statistic. Internet usage was growing at 2,300% per year. He instantly knew this was the opportunity of a lifetime. But he also knew he couldn't do it without McKenzie. Let's move to Seattle, he told her. I want to sell books online. To most people, the idea sounded insane. Who would abandon a cushy Wall Street career for some crazy internet dream? But McKenzie didn't hesitate. She was all in. What millions of Amazon customers don't realize is that McKenzie Bezos wasn't just Jeff's wife, she was the co-founder of the empire. While Jeff obsessed over algorithms and logistics, McKenzie drafted the original business plan that convinced investors to pour $245,573 into a company nobody had ever heard of. From a garage in Bellevue, Washington, she worked side by side with Jeff 18-hour days, answering emails, packing books, negotiating with suppliers. When they couldn't afford furniture, she built desks from wooden doors. We slept 4 hours a night, lived on pizza, and dreamed Amazon would one day be bigger than Barnes & Noble, McKenzie later recalled, and those dreams came true in ways neither of them could have imagined. Amazon went public in 1997 with a valuation of $438 million. By 2018, it had exploded into a $1 trillion empire. Jeff and McKenzie weren't just wealthy, they were living proof of the American dream. But hidden beneath all the success was one fatal mistake. Back in 1993, when Jeff and McKenzie got married, they never signed a prenup. Why do we need papers when we have love? Jeff once joked, years later, that joke would cost him $38 billion. The 2010s brought unimaginable wealth, with also unbearable strain. Jeff had become the richest man on earth, but at a heavy price, endless 18-hour workdays. 4 children he rarely saw. A home he was hardly ever in. McKenzie had once dreamed of being a novelist, but instead, she became the silent partner to a billionaire. She published 2 books, yet they were quickly overshadowed by the juggernaut that was Amazon. Friends whispered that McKenzie often felt trapped in her role. Jeff lives in the future. I live in the present, she confided. And those words would soon prove prophetic, because in 2016, another woman entered Jeff's orbit, someone who would change everything. Her name was Lauren Sanchez, a glamorous TV host, helicopter pilot, and the wife of powerful Hollywood agent Patrick Whitesell. With 3 kids and a picture-perfect life, she seemed untouchable. But the night she crossed paths with Bezos at a glittering Hollywood party, sparks flew, and those sparks would ignite a scandal felt around the globe. At first, it looked innocent, just business meetings. Lauren flew helicopters for elite clients, and Bezos occasionally hired her. But soon, business turned into late-night rendezvous. Bezos, who once hated helicopters, suddenly couldn't get enough of them. Amazon employees noticed the shift immediately. Their once stoic boss started hitting the gym, upgrading his wardrobe, even experimenting with new hairstyles. At nearly 60, Jeff Bezos was acting like a teenager hopelessly in love. For nearly a year, Jeff and Lauren lived a double life, sneaking away to his secluded estates in Texas and Washington, meeting in five-star hotels, exchanging passionate texts. Bezos even purchased a $65 million private jet just to make their secret escapes easier, but the fatal error of the so-called business genius. He put his deepest emotions into text messages that would later become his undoing. What Jeff didn't realize was that Lauren's own brother, Michael Sanchez, was drowning in debt and always looking for a quick payday. A man with deep tabloid connections, Michael couldn't believe his luck when he stumbled across Jeff's intimate texts on Lauren's phone. To him, this wasn't betrayal, it was opportunity. Michael quietly copied every detail. He snapped photos of messages, transferred files, and over months, built a dossier on the world's richest man. And the cruelest twist? Lauren had trusted him completely, even sharing secrets about her romance with Jeff, unaware he was recording everything for a future sale. Among the hundreds of messages Michael collected, one stood out as history-making. On August 15, 2018, Bezos texted Lauren, "I love you alive, girl. I will show you with my body, my lips, and my eyes very soon." It was passionate, raw, and utterly reckless. The National Enquirer smelled blood. By January 2019, Jeff and McKenzie tried to get ahead of the storm, releasing a polite joint statement on Twitter announcing their divorce. "After a long period of loving exploration and trial separation, we've decided to divorce and remain friends." But just 2 days earlier, Bezos had received a phone call that shattered his world. The National Enquirer revealed they had everything: photos, call recordings, and most damning of all, those private text messages. For the first time in 25 years of marriage, McKenzie learned of Jeff's betrayal directly from him just hours before the entire world would see it splashed across headlines. On January 11, 2019, the tabloid published its bombshell, "Bezos exposes his mistress." Within hours, Amazon stock plummeted by 6%, wiping out over $60 billion in market value. Employees were in disbelief. Their brilliant, untouchable CEO had been reduced to an ordinary man with ordinary weaknesses, but the real blow came from McKenzie. With no prenup, she was entitled to half of Jeff's fortune, including nearly 12% of Amazon stock. After months of tense negotiations, a settlement was reached. McKenzie would walk away with 4% of Amazon, shares valued at $38 billion instantly, making her one of the wealthiest women alive. While the world dissected the drama, the FBI quietly launched its own investigation into how America's richest man's most private words had leaked into the hands of a tabloid. The investigation dragged on for nearly a year, but every trail pointed back to one man, Michael Sanchez. In the end, it was revealed that Lauren's own brother had sold Jeff Bezos's private texts to the National Enquirer for just $200,000. For his sister's ruined reputation, Jeff's $38 billion loss, and billions wiped from Amazon's market value. When Lauren discovered her brother's betrayal, she was shattered. "I trusted him more than anyone in my life," she confided to friends. "He didn't just destroy my life, he destroyed Jeff's, McKenzie's, and even my children's." Michael never publicly admitted guilt, but the evidence was overwhelming. He suddenly had a new house, a luxury car, and a bank account that didn't match his career. Yet the price was unbearable. He had lost his family forever. Fast forward to today, Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez are officially together, planning a jaw-dropping $50 million wedding in Venice on June 27th, aboard his $500 million mega yacht, Kourou. But even after 5 years, the ghosts of the scandal still follow them. When photos of the invitations leaked online, decorated with butterflies and pastel stars, the internet erupted with ridicule. For $50 million, you'd think they could afford a better designer? One user mocked. Meanwhile, McKenzie Bezos, now McKenzie Scott, quietly rebuilt her life. She donated over $12 billion to charity, married a local school teacher, and became one of the most admired philanthropists in the world. Ironically, her happiness cost a fraction of Jeff's extravagant second chance at love. But to truly understand how the richest man alive was brought to his knees, You have to step into the underworld of American tabloids. The National Enquirer isn't just a gossip rag, it's a finely tuned machine built on betrayal, secrets, and scandal. For decades, they've stalked celebrities and billionaires with armies of private detectives, hackers, and paid informants. Their billionaire desk exists for one purpose: to track the world's wealthiest. They monitor private jets, dig through financial reports, and bribe insiders at restaurants, hotels, even hospitals. Jeff Bezos landed on their radar the moment he became the richest man alive in 2017, and Michael Sanchez wasn't the first. Relative to sell out family for cash, history is littered with parents, siblings, even children betraying their own blood. But Bezos' scandal became the loudest because the losses were historic. And here lies the cruel irony. Bezos, the man who built the most advanced tech empire in the world, who created revolutionary logistics systems, artificial intelligence, and even rockets to space, was defeated not by hackers or algorithms, but by human weakness. Amazon Web Services protects the data of governments and global corporations. Yet the world's richest man couldn't protect himself from a brother with a smartphone camera. Cybersecurity experts remind us that 90% of leaks don't come from hackers, but from insiders, employees, friends, or relatives with direct access. And after the Bezos scandal, Silicon Valley CEOs completely overhauled their security. Today, every tech leader has personal teams of up to 50 specialists watching every message, every interaction, every move, because if Jeff Bezos is the richest man alive could lose everything to betrayal, then no one is truly safe. Few realize just how deeply the divorce scandal shook Bezos' space ambitions. Blue Origin, his private space company, lost billions in potential funding as investors began questioning the judgment of a man who couldn't even protect his own messages. How could he safeguard astronauts in space? NASA paused all talks for a year, while the European Space Agency declined joint projects altogether, citing reputational risks. Experts estimate the scandal delayed Blue Origin by at least 5 years and cost an additional $15 billion in lost investments, postponing Bezos' dream of colonizing the moon indefinitely. To understand why someone betrayed his own sister for money, we must look at Michael Sanchez's psychology. Growing up in a Mexican immigrant family, he lived in the shadow of his successful sister, Lauren, a brilliant, ambitious television host married to a powerful Hollywood agent. Michael's own attempts in show business repeatedly failed, fueling a deep inferiority complex. When he saw the chance to profit from her private life, he seized it as revenge for years of perceived humiliation. The scale of his actions was catastrophic. Economists estimate the Bezos scandal cost the global economy over $200 billion. Amazon's stock drop sent shockwaves through world markets, hurting pension funds and investors alike. But the greatest loss was psychological. Bezos lost something money can't buy: the trust of employees, partners, investors, the public, and most painfully, his own children, who learned of their father's betrayal through the news. One psychologist consulting Bezos recalled him repeating over and over, "How could I have been so naive?" The man who foresaw the e-commerce revolution 2 decades ahead had failed to predict the betrayal of the closest person. The lesson is clear: one mistake, one misplaced message, one person you trust, can destroy everything in hours. Today, billionaires worldwide maintain extensive teams of lawyers, cybersecurity specialists, and reputation experts. They sign multi-hundred-page prenups, screen every person in their circle, encrypt messages, and limit exposure. Trust, the world's most valuable asset, is also its most fragile. 5 years later, the key players lead drastically different lives. Jeff Bezos stepped down as Amazon CEO to focus on Blue Origin, yet shadows of the past linger. When he proposed to Lauren Sanchez in 2023, the media immediately recalled the infamous scandal. Every wedding detail down to napkin colors is scrutinized online. Lauren, once a rising television star, now lives under constant media pressure and left her journalism career behind. Her children from a previous marriage endure mockery from classmates. McKenzie Scott, in contrast, turned tragedy into opportunity. Now one of America's most influential philanthropists, She donated billions to education, healthcare, and poverty alleviation. Her new husband, a humble teacher, gave her the closeness and understanding she lacked with Bezos. The most tragic figure remains Michael Sanchez. Betraying his own sister for $200,000, he is now a social outcast. Lauren cut ties completely. Other family members refused to communicate with him. His newfound wealth quickly vanished. Attempts at a book or podcast failed, blocked by lawsuits and public outrage. Today, at 58, he lives in a modest Los Angeles apartment, working a low-level PR job, alone, unmarried, childless, and shunned by colleagues. Psychologists note deep remorse behind his defiance. He destroyed both family and future for short-term gain. The Bezos scandal reshaped personal security for billionaires and celebrities. Today, all wealthy individuals follow strict protocols to protect private information. Family members' smartphones use software preventing screenshots or transfers. Messages are encrypted and auto-deleted. Staff undergo rigorous background checks, polygraph tests, and psychological assessments. Each family member has a personal bodyguard monitoring not just physical but digital security. Some billionaires avoid text messages entirely, favoring secure voice channels. Others hire professional doubles to manage their communications and social media. The ultimate lesson: no technology, no empire, no fortune can shield you from human betrayal. Trust remains the world's most valuable and most vulnerable asset. If you found this story revealing, like the video and subscribe for more insights into the lives behind the headlines.